tattoo guns, coaches that don't want to be called coach, and other interesting conversations as we walk a little bit. My name is Bekki. Welcome to the coolest homeschool channel on the internet. Okay, I just have my kids say that, so that makes me feel better. One of my kids went to a camp last year, did amazingly well. It was a lot of people helped him get there. And this year, as he prepares to launch to go to school, a couple of his friends went to the same camp, and they were still talking about Stephen's camp from last summer because the boys at that camp lost their mind. They were ridiculous. But the craziest story was that some of these boys thought it would be a good idea to order a tattoo gun off Amazon. More on that in a second. Hey, I'm interrupting my own video because I have an important thing. My husband has handed me a kit to build your own personal computer that we are going to be giving away to a subscriber by the end of July. All you have to do is you have to subscribe to our channel, hit the little bell, and make sure that you are liking and commenting videos so that I can see that you're active on the page. This video, watch all the way to the end. I just dropped the kids off at a rowing practice. Again, we don't take these opportunities for granted. Every kid has their own set of passions, talents, abilities, and as you lean into that, you'll be surprised at the doors of opportunity that open up. So here we find ourselves in this daydreaming type of opportunity on this little island in Washington where that kid of ours is able to be coached by an extremely elite coach. And so anyway, I went to introduce son number 4 to the coach, different one. I'm like, Coach, this is my son Sam. And he's like, don't call me coach. And I was like, don't call you coach, what? He goes, I think that's one of the biggest problems with sports is that we're too coach centric and we need to be kid centric. And I thought, ooh, I knew I was impressed with you before, but that really impressed me. Homeschool is really parenting with school supplies, art supplies, sneakers, backpacks, and snacks. You'll do more parenting and coaching in your homeschool career than you will teaching math, science, history, writing, etc. And I want you to know right now that focusing on the heart and character and attitudes of your kids is paramount to their success. You know, all 5 of our sons are so different. We have an academic brain. You know, the kind of kid that questions whether or not Pythagorean's theorem should be just, whether you should just trust it. And he really struggles with not proving these things. Academic brain. We have musician, historian, writer, just extremely unique and talented kids. And we've spent the focus of our homeschooling career leaning into the future men that these guys are going to be. So when we would see bad choices or issues, we would lean into those and orchestrate and design training opportunities to help them rise above that. And I'm amazed and dumbfounded how little emphasis the culture as a whole puts on character training. You know, when I do these videos out on YouTube or Facebook, on our website, A Better Way to Homeschool, it's with the intention of speaking to my younger self. You know, that girl that was crying over curriculum, surrounded by kids and overwhelmed and trying to figure out how on earth are my kids going to be well educated if I'm the one that's in charge. And then reflecting on what I know now, 25 years later, is that we put more emphasis on their foundation, on their character qualities, being integrous and honest and hardworking and responsible, diligent, character, on their heart, the condition of what was going on the inside, and then their attitudes, the way that they communicated with each other and the world around them, and the fruit from that. You can see it from a mile away. And it's not that the kids are any more special than any other person's children. It's that they've been trained up and coached. And so I was thinking about this as I'm doing my loop this morning, that I love what the coach said, that he doesn't like being called coach because he doesn't want the attention to be on him. He wants it to be about the kids. And I think the parallel in homeschool is that it's not about the curriculum. It's not about grade level. It's not about scores. It's about the kids. It's about their heart. It's what matters to the kids. Hear me closely. Oh, and if you're watching this far, please like, subscribe, and comment. It helps YouTube send the videos out to people who needs it most. And my heart is to truly build a YouTube community of homeschoolers that we can really encourage you in your journey. Please understand this. As you're leaning into the character of your kids, it's slower. And I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. It's slower. Oh, that's what it was. Most of the academic foundations are laid in place by the time your kids start to read. Some of your kids will read early, between 4 and 6. Some of your kids will be normal, and they'll read between 6 and 8. And some of your kids will be like mine, that took their sweet old time learning how to read. Most of my kids read between 6 and 10, and a few of them read closer to 10 than 6 or 8. They were all delayed readers. But here's the deal. Once they know their basic, their ABCs are 1, 2, 3s. Once they can understand that written language and spoken language have connections and the purpose is to communicate an idea, once they understand that, if we keep feeding them curriculum that means nothing to them, you'll watch the lifeblood drain out of their eyes. School becomes rote. It becomes boring. It becomes senseless. If instead you lay the foundation for your kids so they know their basic math facts, they can read and write, at least somewhat, and then you start to look for what makes their heart beat faster. One of my kids, that was history. So we leaned into history and we wrapped history with, letting this car go by, dun, dun, dun. We wrapped his history with math connections, writing connections, reading connections, art, music. So we did history. Our next son is a writer. And so we would take story and then we would wrap his academics around story writing and creative writing and the writing process and all those things. Our next son was a musician, is a musician, a masterful musician. And so academics, and then we wrapped music with math and writing and history, etc. All the kids, we did the same thing. Once they got their basics in, we leaned into their passions. We used what's called secret sauce, and we would find an idea that they were interested in, and then we would pick a project, and then they would do the project with that idea in mind. So what happened over the course of 25 years is that the kids have blossomed and grown because they care about what it is that they're learning. Oh my gosh, hear me hear me, focus on heart and character first, lay that foundation, and then wrap academics around what it is they're interested in. We live in a smart technology world. You'll see it and do it all the time. Oh, I wonder what that is. Look it up. Oh, that's what that word means. Oh, that's where that idea came from. I wonder how this works. Oh, that's the world your kids are growing up in. So if we hand them a curriculum that says, here are the 47 things that you need to complete by May, and in order to prove that you've learned it, you're going to read these things, answer these questions, do these quizzes, take these tests, and then you'll be able to check off that you completed the curriculum. Well, a lot of your kids are going to do that and then be like, what'd you learn in school this year? I'm like, I don't know. Contrast that with identifying something that the kids are interested in. My kids were very interested in, when we were studying ancient Egypt, how they moved water from the Nile to water the crops, and how they built this thing called a Shaduf, and it was this mechanism that you could grab water over here, lift it up with leverage, move it over, and then water the crops. So what'd we do? We built a Shaduf, and we practiced moving water, and we brought that puppy to life. At the end of that school year, if you were to ask my kids what they learned about, they would tell you they learned about how to make a Shaduf. And then when the person would say, well, what's a Shaduf? Then they would explain what that is. It's the beauty of concentrating on character and heart, and then doing passion-led projects, and then applying academic benchmarks on top. Oh, it's an art form. It's why we have our membership program, Homeschooling Olympians, because it's not second nature and easy for people to lean into it first, especially if, like me, they were raised in the public school system and they were against homeschooling at first, like I was, because homeschoolers are weird, right? Yeah, my kids had no chance of not being weird because they're my children. But I'm telling you that when you lean into character, you will not end up in the situation as easily as my son found himself at camp last year. So picture this. You're at an elite, very expensive rowing camp. And I say that because it took a lot of help from people to get him there. And here he is, around 200 guys, learning how to do this elite sport. And our son is totally into this, totally gonna row in college. What do some of the kids do at camp? Well, they lose their minds, first of all. But the biggest thing that they did that was just ridiculous was a group of them actually went on Amazon and ordered a tattoo gun. And they thought it would be a great idea to give each other prison tattoos. Not only did they mark each other, but they spilt tattoo ink all over the carpet of this dorm and created such a disaster that the camp was not invited back to use the same facility this year. Hold on just a sec. Can you even, I couldn't even wrap my head around it, that the kids actually thought that this was a good idea. One of my son's friends said, oh, they didn't do anything like that at camp this year. The worst thing they did was one of the kids was washing all of his sport clothing. And so one of the other campers thought it would be a really fun idea to sneak a piece of pizza into his laundry. Oh my gosh. Character. Focus on character. If your kids are integrous and honest and responsible and disciplined and diligent and kind, they're not gonna order tattoo guns off of Amazon. They're not gonna disrespect a facility by spilling ink. And they're certainly not gonna toss pizza into a load of laundry. Oh my goodness. I know. Bekki, how do you do it? How do you train heart, attitude, and character with your kids? Couple things. And these are in no particular order because I'm out walking. in a beautiful place and I'm distracted by the sheer beauty of the gardens and the birds and the commotion of things. But what you do is it always starts, and this is why we have a Homeschooling Olympians membership, so that you have access to me, that we can work one-on-one with you, answer questions, help you work through issues as you're going. And the information's in the description. Join us. It's super fun. But the real thing that you do is you observe your children. You observe your children. You're not trying to correct them. You're just watching them. I'm doing this with training our dog right now. And the way that it works is you enter a situation that's new and unfamiliar, and then you watch how they respond. So I watch our dog and I think, okay, he handled that distraction just fine. Doesn't have any problem with that gate, that door, that dog, that bell, whatever the thing is. But when we approach something that is unfamiliar and stresses him out or causes him to react badly, I note that, and then I start working on, well, how can I train him so that he can conquer that fear, conquer that stress, be not as reactive. Kids are the exact same way. When you're out and about, when you're playing with friends, when your kids are just mingling in the backyard, watch them. What are they struggling with? There's usually a theme. And I know if, like me, you're outnumbered by children, then each child will carry their own theme. But there's typically a theme. Laziness, lying, selfishness, slothfulness, all these things. There's usually a theme. Discontentedness, rudeness with your mouth, outbursts of anger, giving up before the end of the race. There's usually a theme. So watch for a couple days until you're like, okay, we need to work on this attitude of it's okay to quit. And, you know, you're working on something hard and it breaks and they have a conniption fit. One time, my oldest son got this beautiful Lego set. He spent 6 hours putting it together, and you can anticipate the end of the story. He was so excited as he carried this ship into the kitchen to show it to me, and he tripped, and poof, that Lego exploded on the floor, and he had a meltdown. And then we scooped up all the pieces, took a break, and then came up with a plan for how he can build it again. When you see something that you want to work with your kids, think of a way that you can practice how to respond, how to react, how to behave under that condition. So taking that cue from that memory, after breakfast, when everybody's super happy, grab something like a pillow, something that's not really going to break. Grab something like a pillow, sit in a circle, and say, and I wouldn't do it too close to a catastrophe, so let a couple days go by. But I would say, hey, remember the other day when you built that Lego? We're going to pretend this pillow is that Lego. And I'm going to pretend that I just spent 42 hours building this. And I'm walking in to show everybody. And I trip and I fall and it breaks all over the floor. And we're going to practice how you handle that kind of a disappointment. All ready? Okay. And we're going to give an award for who gives the best performances. Ready? So then I would pretend to trip and fall, toss the pillow on the ground, make the big sound effects. And then first I would go, well, that's disappointing. That would be my first response. Then I go, wait, that's boring. Let's do it again. And then I would throw myself down on the floor and kick with my legs and scream. And then we would go through different scenarios. Okay, your turn. Now you do it. Pretend it trips and falls. what you're doing is you're helping your kids in a time of non-stress deal with a situation, and then you're giving them coping skills for how to navigate that situation. You can do this with anything. How you come to me when I call, how you put your books away at the end of the day, how you respond if I ask you to do a chore around the house, or things like in real life where you work really hard on something and it explodes, or the toddler comes in and turns into Godzilla and destroys your creation. How can you handle these things? You know, when you focus on heart and character with your kids, it just, over time, helps them be coached into being healthy, well-balanced people that can navigate life, make wise choices. And in today's culture, they stick out like sore thumbs. They don't order Amazon guns they don't order tattoo guns off of Amazon. They don't give each other prison tattoos. They respect the coach, but they work hard, and they know that it's not because of the name of the team or the color of the thing that they're wearing or even their own personal score. It's what they bring to the table. Are they helpful? Are they kind? Are they disciplined? Are they responsible? All those things. They don't sneak into each other's room and cut their hair. They don't have conniption fits when something breaks that are unrecoverable, right? Everybody gets frustrated. Everybody does. I've built things, I've done things and had them break or get destroyed and then sat down and cried. I am not gonna lie. I've even exploded at times when something's not going right. But I've taken those situations and then I look back on them reflectively and evaluate, okay, what could I have done differently? How could I have handled that differently? Right now in my life, the situation that I'm tweaking and fine-tuning with one of my sons is, he's at that stage in life that he's breaking away, and he is completely confident in the way that he wants to do things, but the way that he thinks about things or approaches situations is completely different than the way that I would do it. And we're butting heads because I want him to do it my way and he wants me to do it his way. And we're both right because they're both excellent ways to do things, but they're just different. So we're having this dialogue every day. You are just thinking about this from a different perspective, and I see you and I respect your opinion. I respect what you're doing. I'm struggling because I have a different idea of what should be done in this situation. So how can we handle this the next time? We're having this broken record conversation over and over and over again because it's a stumbling block for our relationship right now, and we want to conquer it before he leaves in a couple years to go to school. So this type of training is life training. It never goes away. We always have something to work on. All of us always have something to work on. There's always area for improvement. We need to be able to receive constructive criticism and then brainstorm ideas for how to make things better, and then be willing to put in the hard work. Those were my random thoughts. If you have to choose character first, you will never regret it. Be like the coach who realizes and accepts that it's not about him. Your kids growing up to be excellent adults that make a difference and an impact in this world depend upon you seeing that it's all about them, but that the world doesn't revolve around them, and that if their character, heart, and attitude are stellar, everything else is easy. It's slower, and they might not progress academically as fast as their peers, but they will stand out in a crowd.